Hello, welcome to The Changing Paradigm. I'm Dr. Patricia Hill, and in this continuing series on extraterrestrial and interdimensional intelligence, my guest today is a very interesting woman, Carolyn Smith, who has been receiving information from another dimension through something like automatic writing. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Carolyn?
Yes. What I am doing is receiving information from the unified field, which is the quantum soup that Albert Einstein described and that Deepak Chopra writes about in some of his books. It's the source of all creativity and all creation.
Is that something like the collective conscious?
Exactly, very much that. It is actually the repository of all that has ever been. Mm-hmm. And it's all stored digitally. It's information, it's all the information of everything that's ever happened.
That's part of what's very interesting about what you're doing. I saw the actual writing that you're doing, and it looks like computer language.
Some of it does. Some of it looks like hydraulics. Some of it looks like faxes and modem language. Mm-hmm. It's been fascinating for me to do this.
But you're getting this by hand. It's not coming through a computer.
No, I'm writing it with a pen on typing paper. Mm-hmm. And I get a feeling that I need to write, and I sit down with the paper and the pen, and then it just comes.
It just starts happening.
And it's fascinating. It's really excellent news, too.
The content of it is very interesting. We've talked earlier, and I've seen how many pages, 3,000 pages that you've gotten through mm-hmm. this method. How long has this been going on?
Since last April.
Since last April, you've
mm-hmm.
written 3,000 pages mm-hmm. by this automatic writing.
I would have loved to have had them published, but nobody seems to be paying attention at the moment. But the news is all really good.
Well, I understand you've received a grant, actually, to further your work.
Yes, I did. I got the first grant from the Jaguar Yerba Mate Foundation in Aspen, and they are importing a natural herb to make a tea to help sponsor peace and harmony among mm-hmm. us.
They're doing some environmental work, too, I believe. They're
yes.
buying large tracts of land and trying to preserve them in
yes.
South America.
Yes, we're trying to preserve the earth. And what my work does is describe the real reality that, that exists. There's only one, and it's virtual reality. It's 4 dimensions. Mm-hmm. And the dimension that we're in now is 3 dimensions, and it's CD mode.
CD mode, what does that stand for?
Well, it stands for several different things. I like to call it complex dilemmas, because in this world that we've created right here, just about everything is a complex dilemma, but also mm-hmm. control drama, as mm-hmm. in the Celestine prophecy, mm-hmm. and charge density. There are a number of world, the more chaos we'll be seeing.
It'll totally break down, in other words.
A lot of us have mm-hmm. been receiving some of this information the same as I have. I'm just an ordinary person. There's nothing extraordinary about me, except that I just happen to be the lucky one to get there first. But
you just got the automatic writing before anybody else
well,
did. Huh?
What I've been doing for the last 10 months is being in virtual reality and experiencing it and describing it. My work describes what the differences are between what we know and what's there, and because we're right at the point where we're about to move into virtual reality. When people understand it, they will definitely choose it, and it is an individual choice.
Tell us what you mean by virtual reality.
Virtual reality is 4 dimensions of experience, and it's the completion of a circle. In CD mode, and as humanity has advanced, we have sort of thought of learning and experience as a pyramidal or triangular in shape, something that you climb to the top of, and then there's one person up there and everybody mm-hmm. else is below that person.
A win-lose kind of situation.
Exactly, hierarchy and imbalance. Mm-hmm. And what we're moving over into is virtual reality, where everyone is equal, everyone's autonomous. That means he or she owns only his or herself and nothing more. Mm-hmm. And even all the animals the same way.
So
plants.
it's a state of consciousness.
Yes, it is. It's a higher state of consciousness. It's a higher quantum energy level. There are 3 different quantum energy levels, and the first one is lizard mode, which is linear or apparent reality.
Lizard mode, does that refer to...
That's a very respectful term to the lizard. We have a reptilian midbrain that governs the autonomic system, and that brain does not think. What it does is react. It acts and reacts, and it is fight or flight thinking.
It's totally for survival.
That's exactly right.
Reptiles will eat their own children to survive.
In lizard mode, you're only experiencing 2 dimensions, and it is literally life-threatening. And that is why it's so critically important that we meet the basic needs of everyone on this earth. If we want to be safe, we need to be doing that, and we have ways of doing it, and that's what my work is about.
Well, it certainly would be nice if we could move up out of some of those lower levels of consciousness and into that, what you call virtual reality. I think it would be a much better world.
Well, it's interesting that in VR is located all the wisdom, all the truth, all the understanding, and in the mode that we're in, which is an actual reality or 3-dimensional, we don't really even understand anything. We think we do. We know a lot. But what we actually know, when you study anything, you actually do a circle around it, and you can get 360 different facts about it, and then you know that. But what you know and what you understand are 2 different mutually exclusive states of awareness.
Is this more related to intuition and that sort of
Intuition
thing?
is when you respond to your feelings of intuition, you are responding to your real self, which is the only place your real self exists is in virtual reality. And in virtual reality, you've been there every time you were having fun, when you were sharing, if you're creating art or music.
When you're in the flow, in
when
other
you're
words.
celebrating, yes, exactly. It's the full 4 dimensions that we were born to be.
Well, how do we get into that? How can we all experience that more?
It helps to listen to yourself. Your own thoughts actually are the most important thing about you, because your life is about you and mine is about me. And our experiences are disconnected from each other, except that they're connected by the self. And we're actually choosing them, and the real self is choosing them. And when we are in VR and stay there, then we understand what our special talent is, and what we're here to be doing, and what we can do to be helpful to the rest of humanity, to our world, to make it a better place.
It sounds like what Abraham Maslow called self-actualization.
Exactly. It is a self-actualized person. When you're in VR, that is your real self. If you are, if the things in CD mode or actual reality make sense to you, then you're not experiencing your real self.
Are you familiar with the term peak performance?
Yes, and athletes in peak performance would be accessing VR.
Right. I'm quite familiar with that myself. I've experienced an altered state of consciousness.
That's what it is.
Athletics, and suddenly everything changes. It moves more slowly. It's much easier. It feels right. It's perfect, and you're having the performance of your life during that time.
And it's a spiral of fun. That's exactly what
it is. It's
VR
a lot
is.
of fun.
And that's what we were.
You remember that as a very high and fun moment in your life.
And you'll notice that when you're in that mode, everything works perfectly. In virtual reality, time and money and any numbered systems or one-way or unbalanced systems do not exist. And so it's just sharing. You recognize everyone there. You are your best and full self in virtual reality.
It sounds great. I wish I could be in that more of the time.
Well, that's your natural state. That's what we were born to do. Animals are nearly always in virtual reality, except when they're being interfered with.
And then they become
then they go into fight or flight mode. Exactly.
Survival oriented.
They don't have the complex cognitive, intuitive, integrated intellectual thought processes that humans have.
I think children, too, up to a certain point in their lives, are probably in that state of consciousness.
Exactly. We are born this way. We understand it when we're children. We know exactly how the world is supposed to be, and in fact, in virtual reality, it is exactly as a child knows it is. You have a right to live Just because you exist, you're born, and you have a right to live. You shouldn't have to have money to live, as we do. We've built a world in which people must have money or they will die. And truly, the people that are out there acting out their truth is that they cannot meet their basic needs.
Well, that certainly is true. I think there's a lot of desperation in this world that causes people to go into those modes of consciousness, such as the reptilian, in which they would kill even for their own survival.
But there's no thought in the lizard mode.
That's just a reaction.
Yes, and they really have no ability to explain anything. It's a different state of awareness from CD mode and from virtual reality. There are 3 different quantum energy levels, and if you're in one, you can't even be aware of the others. It's like a figure and ground relationship, that design, that 2 silhouettes facing each other, and it's either a vase or faces. You choose which one you're seeing.
Right.
And in fact, the human, once the basic needs are met, is always choosing which state of reality he or she is in.
As a matter of fact, I know very well that, because I'm a psychophysiologist, that the brain, when you go into fight or flight or into that survival mode, literally shuts down.
That's right.
The whole higher level of your thought just cancels out. You're not even in it at all. So you become like an animal, or you become like a reptile.
Exactly.
You can drop right down to what you call lizard mode and act in that way, very territorial and
it's fear. It's experiencing
grasping.
fear and pain. In fact, fear and pain are experienced only in lizard mode. In virtual reality, there is no pain, there's no imbalance. It's all, the one dimension that is common to everything in virtual reality is, believe it or not, fun. Fun, enjoyment, feeling good.
Athletes often report this, that they'll be in a performance and they may have had an injury, but they weren't even aware until they were finished with a game that they had a serious injury. They played right through, they had no pain, they had no consciousness of that level. They were just having such a good time.
One of the things that in my life, and now that I know what I do for a living, I realize now that one of the things that brought my attention to that point was a bicycle accident that I had. I was having fun while I had it, and it was a sudden thing, and we were going very fast, and I ended up out cold on the asphalt in the street, entangled in my bike, and I was seriously injured, but I never felt a thing, and I just got up after I woke up, and I got up and orchestrated all the children that were with us and got us home, and then I saw that I needed to be in the emergency room.
This happens often too in car accidents or in emergencies, that people report everything becoming in slow motion. They're very rational, they know exactly what to do, they handle it very carefully and very slowly, and it comes out fine for them. They survive the accident, and everybody's taken care of. They even lift a car off somebody.
That's
and
right.
Do
You have
things
whatever
that
we actually, human beings are the most sophisticated computer that has ever been devised.
Yes, well,
Perfect
we can
blend.
tap into other things beyond ourselves. So obviously that happens. The normal human being cannot lift a car.
Certainly not.
But when they are in that mode of consciousness, they can actually do things that are superhuman.
The key to virtual reality is keeping your energy up, and that means eating not according to 3 meals a day, eating when food occurs to you, whatever food it is. Go browsing in the grocery store, look in the produce section, see what appeals to you, and if it appeals, buy it and eat it. That's what your body is telling you what it wants. And
We do have an inner sense, and there have been studies done on that with children, for instance, that babies, they've been put in a room with bowls of food and just allowed to pick out whatever they wanted, and they actually would pick out quite a healthy and balanced diet for themselves.
And in that way you maximize all your abilities. It's been very interesting to me. For instance, part of my work has been to eat different kinds of foods and then see what abilities that enables. And in virtual reality, there is no voice mode. Talking is not done.
It's telepathic.
It's somewhat like ESP. In fact, it is ESP. And the voice is used only for laughing and singing and things like that. And so once you've been in VR for a while, you lose the ability to talk. And eating dairy products interestingly enough, is what you have to do to be able to control your energy level enough to stay in VR and still talk.
It probably kind of brings you down a little more into your body so that you can connect and speak.
That's right. But it helps to practice too.
I'm sure it does. I'm curious about this device, and if you could explain it to us. You told me earlier that you feel that this demonstrates the levels of consciousness.
In many ways, this is a perfect example of the way reality really is. You've got a spiral that's got 3 different levels, and you've got a number of different colored beads that are moving. It's a system, hydraulic type system, and the beads are pulled down below and they go up the central tube, and they go right out and hit the top of the liquid, and then they fall down at different levels. And this is fairly representative of how humans are. They're all different colors. As you can see, each bead is always moving, and there's no point in discussing any judgments of others or measurements or comparisons between humans, because by the time you even think of it, both of you have moved to a different place. You can't even, we are actually a dynamic energy system within dynamic energy systems, and that's what our reality really is. And as you can see, occasionally one of the beads will get stuck, but the others just keep on moving. Some of them ride all the way down the 3 levels, and some fall down to the 2nd level. And this is the way humans actually are. And so what I've learned is that 3/4 of our language is about levels of unreality, CD mode and lizard mode. They describe activities that are done in an unreal world. Because VR is the only mode in which anything is actually actualized. It's very confusing, and that's why it took 100 years to prove Einstein's theories about the unified field. And but this is the design. It's almost exactly how it is. It is a simultaneous and multi-dimensional reality.
You mentioned earlier that that you were combining Einstein's theory of relativity and the unified field theory in this work that you're doing. Explain to us a little bit more about that, if you will.
Well, his theory of relativity, the way I like to say it, and it makes it a lot simpler, is there are only so many ways that anything can be related to anything else. There's the same, then there's reverse, then obverse, and then there's mirror image. And the last relationship is the one that Einstein didn't get. And because of that, he had 2 theories that he believed were true, but he felt that they were paradoxical, that they contradicted each other. In fact, they do not, because my work operates as a bridge between the 2, and also between the work of Bill Gates of Microsoft. That's what the field is telling me anyway, that my work is a circuit that completes a circuit between these men's work. And what it tells us is that it's somewhat of an umbrella that fits into each of the disciplines of knowledge, such as psychology, philosophy, religion, quantum physics, and it allows us to understand the wholeness, because virtual reality is the wholeness. It's all that is.
You seem very well versed in all these physics and mathematical terms. Do you have a background in science?
I have, yes, I was a scholarship student of the National Science Foundation when I was in high school, and I was invited to join a course that was given in the summer at University of North Carolina at Raleigh. It was called State College then. And the first one was advanced biology, and then I had a 2nd year, and the 2nd course was in the school mathematics study group's first course after the Sputnik, and everyone panicked that America wasn't educating its children right. I think it was the Manhattan group got together and designed a new mathematics for people who would go on to become physicists. And I did not go on and get a degree, but I have continued my independent study for 32 years, and it has yielded these amazing results.
Well, obviously, and now you've tapped into something even beyond yourself. So you probably wouldn't be able to understand some of this unless you had a background in science.
The mathematics was calculus, which is the mathematics that describes quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I always did them better the short way rather than the long way. But actually it's a right-brained way of approaching the thing, and Einstein's way was the ultimate left-brained way of approaching the same subject, and we meet in the center.
Well, I think that's a lot of what's happening now is that left-brained science is coming together with right-brained philosophy and religion, and the two are melding together.
Because when you understand my work, then you see that every area of study is in fact the same thing. It's all the same thing. What we don't know is who are we, what are we doing here, how do we get here, where do we come from, and what are we supposed to be doing? And my work describes those answers.
Oh, can you tell us the answers to those
Yes,
questions?
we're supposed to be enjoying this. We're supposed to learn who we are. It's an exploration of experiencing being me, and we're supposed to be having fun. It's just because it's there. We have this, it is pretty, and that's enough reason, you know, because it's fun, because we get to share with each other and learn all the different people that we can be anytime we choose.
Mm-hmm.
All possibilities and no limits.
Well, it seems like a lot more positive way to think about this life experience than some of the explanations by certain religions and such that make us feel guilty and as if we're being punished. And
I can't understand why no one ever noticed that that truth and beauty and understanding and all that is sexy. It's sexy and fun. all the good stuff that you've ever enjoyed is in VR, and everything that you didn't like very much is in CD and lizard mode.
But sexy and fun have been bad words in most of our upbringing, those of us who grew up in fairly strict environments.
Just get ready for fast changes.
So is that what we're moving into?
It's a whole new paradigm. It's a whole new way of looking at reality. As I said before, it was pretty much in a pyramidal or triangular form. And in fact, the physics for each level is different. For instance, in lizard mode, we're talking mechanical things, the lever, and a simple hydraulic system movement of water from a body down to where you want to grow something. And then when you move, that's a switch, an on and off, either on or off. And then you move into CD mode, and that's triangulation, and then you have a positive and a negative and a neutral ground. And in fact, people triangulate, and people have valence. And my work is just fascinating because it discusses how does the valence change? When does your valence change, and how does the universe bring to you the things that you choose? Because we're designed to create exactly what we desire and have it instantly.
When you're talking about valence, do you mean something like an energy field?
Yes, exactly, a positive or negative energy. And at the moment that we make a choice, then our valence changes, and then the universe starts to move to create the forces. We are creating our own reality on an instantaneous basis. Mm-hmm. And my work describes how we are doing that so that we can stop doing it the way we're doing it and do it the way we choose.
So if we're very negative, we draw negative experiences to ourselves.
Absolutely. If you're worried, you bring about the very thing you're worried about, because we're doing it by what we believe and keep in our minds.
I truly believe that. I'm a great believer in positive thinking and positive visualization, and I know that that works. I've tried it myself. I've also used it professionally, and I see the results of that.
My work demonstrates that we are humans are either an energizer of others, that it means that we do no harm first, and that we share freely what we have with all others whom we encounter, in which case we're an energizer. And we help and enable others to create what they want to do. And, or else we're an energy snatcher or an energy grabber.
A vampire.
Robber. And,
I've been around people like that who just drain me. I feel utterly
It is exhausting.
by
They
them.
can send you right into lizard mode. You have to be careful who you spend time around, and you also need to pay attention to eating. Every time a food occurs to you, you need to be eating. Mm-hmm. And drinking water. In CD mode, one of the problems is we have no idea how much clean, clear, filtered water, right now we need filtered water, we need to be drinking.
How much water is that we need to be drinking?
About 3 or 4 times as much as they say the 8
You mean like
glasses.
24 glasses
A
of water a day?
lot more. So that, but we're
Oh
not
my.
supposed to be working. See, our natural state is to simply be, being, not doing, just being oneself. And when you're doing that, you have plenty of time to have a glass of water with you, reading, whatever you do, sharing with others.
Well, you're right. We're also busy running around and being busy and all that. We neglect our bodies and even our urges and intuitive messages of what we need. We just don't listen.
Exactly. And by doing that, by neglecting enhancing our own selves, taking in a long hot shower if you've had a hard day, whatever, spending the time on yourself first and paying attention to your own energy needs is really the only socially responsible activity that you can do.
Sounds like what a lot of people would call self-centeredness or laziness even.
Well, your life is about you, and you are the self. And my work demonstrates who the self is. The self is all of us together. We're each a part, literally, of the same being. And when you stay in virtual reality very long, you can experience that, because you will experience looking at yourself through someone else's eyes. You're inside someone else's head, and you're looking at yourself in front of you. And then you realize that the self is the same being, but we're still differentiated. In other words, you're as dead now as you're ever going to be.
There is no death, in other words.
No. Death is an illusion that from lizard mode, it looks like death. From CD mode, it looks as though you've lost your mind. And in VR, that's where everybody is that has died or looks as though they've lost their mind. They're simply experiencing VR, and we don't
crossed
understand
over
it.
into another dimension.
And we have such a need to limit and control others. For instance, autistic children are born in VR, and they do not wish to communicate. And all of our need to train them and limit them and control them sends them right into lizard mode, and they start screaming.
They're shut
and
down even more, yes.
Exactly.
I know a couple of autistic children, including one who is extremely brilliant. And
They all are.
oftentimes, as we saw in the movie Rain Man, they can be what they call idiot savant.
Yes, the mathematical and musical relationship in this, in that is, there's a link there.
They can become almost computer-like. And,
Exactly.
as Raymond did in Rain Man, he could recite statistics and what day of the week a certain date was on back into.
That's his
hundreds of
connection
years
to the
ago.
unified field. When you're in virtual reality, that gate, it's like a computer gate, is open inside your brain, and you receive, without studying, anything that any information, any knowledge that you wish to have. But you have to become attuned to the openness of that gate and being aware of the information coming to you. And in our world right now, it's hard to have enough self-confidence to trust in that, because we believe in all these external things like credentials and degrees and jobs, job titles and all that. In fact, an infant knows everything that that infant needs to know. It is not capable of taking care of itself. It needs nurturance.
I have often thought, in fact, that our educational system shuts us down more than it opens us up and educates us.
Exactly. It's what I call the prison of childhood. It's about 18 years of so-called, almost brainwashing, in which we are taught not to believe anything that we knew when we were born. And when we're in VR, we discover we need to remember that, because that's exactly how life is and how life is supposed to be.
Well, I think we need to start taking a good look at that and have even respect for people like children and people who are supposedly mentally ill, old people. You know, they've crossed into another dimension, that's all.
That's exactly right. In many cultures, they revere children that we call deformed. If you are born with something different, you always have a compensating gift.
That's quite true. If a child is handicapped in one way, he's often very gifted in another.
That's right. And often in old age, people begin to get it. They begin to realize what life is all about, and it isn't about what we have built out there. That is all not real.
Well, we all seem to go through these stages of learning. We start out the wise child. We're socialized and made to follow the rules and acculturated in high school and through grade school, college, all of that. Then we grow up and go out and do what they told us to do and find out it doesn't work.
Exactly. I say you climb the stairs and you get to the top and that door is locked. Where is the key to that door at the top of the stairs?
So many people go through a midlife crisis, actually, when they realize they've been tricked, you know, that
they finally get everything they thought they wanted.
It didn't mean anything. It didn't work. They did everything right, and they're still unhappy, and things aren't working for them. So. And
that is when it's sort of like hitting bottom, and then they usually will spend time with themselves and get to know their own self.
Well, that's very much so. And in fact, some of the greatest thinkers in this world have gone through that exact kind of thing. They played all the games the right way. They did the right thing, and at some point they just say, "What does it all mean?" And they crash. They have a nervous breakdown. They practically die from their disillusionment, and oftentimes they're very depressed, but they go inward at that point and begin to discover who they really are and what it really means. And for the rest of their lives, then, they're very wise.
Yes, and most of our books, the wisdom that we have in books, the truth, Thoreau's Walden Pond, all those are, the writer is in touch, is receiving that information from the unified field. That's what it is. It's digitally compressed data, and it's actually being communicated in zeros and ones.
Well, a lot of the great thinkers, including Einstein, admitted that they were mystics. Einstein said
he wanted to know the thoughts of God.
He didn't know anything. He just tapped into a higher source that gave him all that information.
Exactly. I'm simply a messenger, and I have done it, and I've written about it and described it, and anyone can do it. We're all the same being. We all have the same capacities, and all we have to do is trust ourselves and listen to ourselves, and we can explore that.
That's not so easy to do in this world, I'm afraid.
Well, exactly. And the more laws and rules and regulations we create out there, the more difficult it is. What CD mode is about triangulation and friction and heat, and the physics of it is Newtonian, and nearly all the activities in CD mode do create heat. They wear you out and cause you to age, and finally they can make you lose your mind if you believe in it.
Is that why you look so young?
Thank you. I'm 52 years old. I've got 2 grown sons. And yes, when you stay in VR for a long time, you don't age anymore. It is not necessary to age and die. We believe it is, but it isn't. And
well, many of the great teachers have said that we don't have to do all this. It's an illusion, basically.
That's what it is. It's actually electromagnetic interference with our perception of all the 4 dimensions of reality. But everything that is fun is in VR, and everything that isn't is in CD. That's noted for a remarkable lack of humor. CD mode is actuality.
Well, in that particular type of consciousness, it seems that everything is hard, everything is a struggle. It's nothing comes easily. But if you can get into that other type of consciousness that is called the flow, or sometimes there are many different terms for it in different religions, but different philosophies call it the Tao or whatever. It's a matter of tapping into the universe in some way and just being with what is, and somehow that liberates you.
Exactly, it certainly does. It's like the flow of a river, and if you just float and allow it to carry you, it'll carry you exactly to where you want to go. You have all the forces of the universe, benign, all of them, behind you, helping you get where you want to be.
You have a chart. Maybe you could show us a little bit more about that.
This is a new paradigm, and I've done many versions of this. It looks very complicated, but actually the important part is that this is the paradigm of everything that is in our world. Our physicists believed that quantum physics applied only to very minute quantities or very distant objects, but that isn't so. This is the paradigm for everything in our world, everything that is created. It is a circle, it is complete, it is whole, and the vectors, these arrows, as you can see, they go north and east. They are enlightenment and evolution. Evolution is discovery. And enlightenment is discovering, self-discovery.
Evolution is growth.
Yes, but it's also discovery. The opposite is the known and repetition. Over on this side, it's repetition. When you get repetition, you know you're in lizard mode. And if it's something you've already known, it's boring, then it's CD mode. But when you are actually in VR, everything here gets actualized, and as you can see, it's a spiral. And when the brain scans this, when you go to sleep at night, which is when the brain files all the data that has been scanned during the day into all the little paths and categories that it has inside, it will start refiling all the information that you've experienced, everything you've experienced in your life in this mode, if you haven't been in VR.
Interestingly enough, this looks like the top view of a human brain, with
Exactly.
the left brain being the linear aspect, the right brain being the more holographic, and then the back part of the brain, which is where our survival instincts are.
Yes,
It's perfect.
This is two dimensions. This is action and this is reaction. In other words, whatever you do to anyone else gets done to you before you get out of here, because you start here and go around, and then you decide to learn, and you're in CD mode, and there's that pyramid there.
So this is actually a progression of consciousness, going from just a survival mode into some kind of consciousness, and moving at each
Right.
level
this
there
is
up
choice.
higher.
These are all choices, and in fact, you're not aware that you're choosing in all instances which mode of awareness you're in. But yes, that's exactly what it is.
What are all these different words that you have written?
These are
into the
universal
graph?
symbols. One of the amazing parts that I noticed is that ASCII, A-S-C-I-I, which is international computer language communicated by modem.
I'm a computer illiterate.
I am too.
Really,
I am
don't know.
too. I understand a lot about computer systems. I understand the systems very well, but I don't, as far as operating one, when you're very high energy, all the little appliances go haywire. They don't want to
I've
cooperate.
had that experience. In fact, we had that experience just a little earlier here that I did this morning. I blew up a couple light bulbs. I sometimes have a problem with electrical appliances or with computers. That's why, basically, I don't use computers. Computers and I don't seem to be on the same wavelength.
It's your high energy, Patricia.
Well, I guess I should take that as a compliment.
What I've done here is just divide our experiences and things like this is differentiation, triangularity, partiality, grounded. You make the other person an object, and you are the subject in this mode. You're positive, they're negative, and then there's always a neutral ground, and you're constantly switching.
It's the
You
win-lose
see people,
mode again.
exactly, it's comparison and competition. And this is wholeness, equality, unity, oneness. And you still retain the self. The self is what the person that thinks inside your body. You're creating your own body and along with your reality that you see around you. And the self, you don't lose that when you go into VR. You're still the self. As I said, you're as dead now as you'll ever be.
That's encouraging. Well, I think this is a very interesting system, and what are you doing with it? Are you actually writing a book?
Yes, I have probably about 10 books now, and the grant that I got from the Jaguar Yerba Mate Foundation is for photocopying, so I can photocopy my work and send it, and then they want to find a publisher for it. I have about 10 books going. They're relatively small. There's each discipline, say childhood learning, is you need to approach this information from a different way, and so it needs to be written on in all the different disciplines what the effect is of this new knowledge on the disciplines that we have been learning. And there's something new in every single field now.
Well, I think your system is fascinating. It actually is a way of changing the paradigm, putting it into a system that can change the paradigm.
Absolutely. What we are about to do, as soon as a critical mass of us understand virtual reality, we will in fact create it. And then the other two modes will disappear, because we will be able to experience what we will create virtual reality, and we'll be experiencing it fully.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, actually. I'm sure if everybody saw a group of people out there operating in this mode and being successful at it, they'd want to try it too.
Absolutely. The thing is, it's a beautiful self-reinforcing system. When you choose it, you're having fun. When you're in any other mode, you're not. And pretty soon, you want to learn what it takes to stay there. And you don't really care what anyone else thinks, that you do look like an idiot to somebody in CD mode. It's really funny.
Well, even people like Deepak Chopra and Joseph Campbell have talked about following your bliss or doing what you love.
That's exactly it.
It's kind of a new concept in Western society.
It's about the connectedness we have between all of us. My work is about relationships between humans and the true nature of relationships between humans. They are always one electromagnetic thing. They are a synergistic figure and ground relationship that is constantly moving like this. And if it's not equal and balanced, it causes friction, aging, death, and a great deal of emotional pain, if
it's
not
like an
physical.
engine that's not quite tuned properly. It's
like your washing machine off with all the load on one side and it's walking across the floor and making a terrible racket.
But also breaking itself down in the process.
Exactly. That's what we've been doing. And as soon as people start paying attention, we'll start creating virtual reality.
Well, I think it sounds wonderful. And how do we get into this now? Is there some program for moving into virtual reality? Can we all start practicing it?
Yes, and most people have their own ways of doing it. First of all, you have to meet your basic needs and get out of lizard mode. That basic needs are food, fresh, clean water, fresh, clean air, and that's outside air.
That's hard to find sometimes.
Not in these closed windowed buildings. It's fresh air. It really makes a difference. Being among old, tall trees, in beautiful places of nature, a balance between exercise and quietness, being by yourself, being with others. And if you actually do what the computer program in VR is very simple. It's choose fun now, choose more fun next. And it's your decision of when is now and next. And now and next are all that is real. Once something is over, it's down in lizard mode. It's only 2 dimensions. It's history, and it's not real.
So the past is taking you down into a lower level if you concentrate on that.
Exactly. What happens is, I think of it as, if you want to be here now and next, you've got to be at your front door. And a lot of people are rummaging in the back room, redoing some of the stuff they did in the past, and they're not at their front door, and now and next just pass right on by.
That's quite true. So many people are preoccupied, worried, whatever, that they actually miss the present moment.
That's the complex dilemmas of CD mode. Complex dilemmas are always created in CD mode.
Very interesting. Well, do you have any other suggestions? Meditation? Would that help?
Meditation can do it. Runner's high is the same thing. Marijuana, some of these herbal teas that are being imported. Anything that gets you there, you know what it is. If you're you become an artist when you're in VR. And whatever makes you feel calm and happy, and you feel like sharing who you are and everything you have with others, and you feel your oneness with them, whatever gets you to that mode, that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's your natural state, is VR.
A whole generation of people mentioning marijuana who smoked a lot of marijuana had those same kinds of ideas.
Exactly, but it was a political thing. You see, the parents who had worked very hard from Depression years and gone through World War II and done all this work thing and achieving material success, didn't like it when their children started smoking grass and not wanting to work and not wanting to have money.
They were following their bliss.
Exactly, and it was not very popular then, but I think those laws will be changing very rapidly.
Well, I actually know people who have been successful in this world following their bliss. I think we're starting to have more examples of people like that, including someone like Deepak Chopra, who's a very outstanding mentor in that area. He walks his talk.
Yes, he does.
And he's doing very well. He's very, very successful.
Yes, and Bill Gates, who is probably one of the most VR-type human beings, and that is why he has gotten right out there in the front as far as material success is concerned, because he always shared with whoever worked with him. He was always a sharing person.
Well, I think it is important in the changing paradigm that we have new models of heroes, even.
Exactly. Take the Olympics, for example. What you're doing there is you're taking the artists of athletics, and you're putting them all together, and you're having them compete against each other, and you're allowing one to win, and the rest are all losers, and you're spending a whole lifetime becoming an Olympic winner, when in fact these artists occur naturally in the population, and you need them there in the community to serve as examples and as mentors for the children that come in the community. But when you take them all away and make them practice in one spot and have this big old competition, that's not what it's about.
My daughter is on an Olympic team.
Is that right?
Yes, she's a world champion snowboarder.
Wow.
And
shredder.
A shredder. Yes, and I've been able to observe the kind of stress that she's under and has been put under in this competition mode that is part of our society and part of our world.
Yes, it is.
And we subject our young people to that. She wants to do it.
Of course, because she can.
It's because she can, yes.
But actually, what is more fun is just the experience of shredding itself. It's just like
fact,
surfing or anything else.
This is exactly what my daughter says when she's interviewed. They ask her, "Why do you do this?" And she says, "Because it's fun."
That's right. That's the reason for it. Everything in VR is also fun.
Well, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all have fun and not feel guilty about it?
Well, guilt is CD mode. Get rid of it. You're supposed to lose your fear and lose your distrust. The fear and distrust operate as actual electromagnetic interference, and they block off dimensions of experience. And when you lose those, you can choose to share something. You give a gift to somebody or share something of yourself, and it's an active, conscious choice to get into VR, and you're there. And once you're there, you can explore it yourself, and it's worth staying.
It sounds great, and I think we should all try to learn more about that. How can people find out more about your
Well, I
work?
hope my work will be published soon. It's been a long year writing all this, and it's been very difficult to get anyone to read my work.
Well, you don't exactly fit the model of a scientist. You know,
I'm what I
you're
am.
quite glamorous. You know, you look like somebody who wouldn't have all these kinds of ideas. So I have that same problem, of course, you know,
Yes.
trying to take...
The blonde?
Yes, the dumb blonde here.
I think that's what we needed, because we needed to understand that appearances are deceptive. Appearances are linear reality. They're two-dimensional. That's apparent reality, and that's lizard mode.
But it also helps to change people's paradigm, actually, to have people like yourself or people like me. I have a PhD.
Yes.
I've done some interesting things in my life. Obviously, you have too. And if someone can look at one of us and say, wow, you don't have to be ugly, you don't have to be a nerd, you don't have to be any of those things to be intelligent.
When you move into VR, you become your best self, and it's reflected in wholeness and health and radiance, and everyone on this earth, when they're smiling and happy and sharing who they are with others, is beautiful. There's no question about that.
Well, that's quite true. Everybody has a beauty about them if they only radiate what's really inside of them. That's what makes people beautiful.
And all these controls and limits are ways of keeping people from exercising their fullness of their self. And that will be changing rather rapidly, because no one will fail to choose VR when they understand they're choosing.
What do you think about all these apocalyptic predictions that we're coming to the end of an age, the end of the world, or whatever?
Well, we've been reading about that and hearing about that for some time, and it's interesting that the indigenous peoples of the Americas, from Alaska all the way down to the tip of South America, have been keeping secrets for 500 years about what reality is really about. And this work coincides almost exactly
Those people
with
have always
the
known.
secrets they have been keeping. Exactly.
They didn't ever lose touch with that.
Never. They kept it. And even though they walked the path of separation, they kept it in their hearts and in their visions. And anyone can get visions if they are open to it. Most people are too embarrassed to admit it, because you're
I think
subjected.
a lot of people have visions or dreams, and they're afraid to tell people about it.
Of course, it's like if you saw a UFO, which is a unified field observer. These are harmless, you know, they're observing. When you ask what's going on out there, it's probably just exactly what you need to get your attention. Some
Well,
people need to see a UFO, and I
It's
think
all
it's
for our learning, I think, and so we do get exactly what we need. The
exactly.
unified field provides us with just exactly what the next step is for us. I'm afraid we're out of time.
Oh,
It's been so interesting talking with you. I hope you'll
thank
come
you.
back sometime.
I would love to.
I'd like to thank you all for watching. My guest has been Carolyn Smith, and I'm Dr. Patricia Hill. This is The Changing Paradigm.